about what's on the law of attraction and how we can make it work for us at our command. I'm Decebal from Bucharest, Romania, and I had a particular interest in this field for many, many years. Back in 2004, while searching internet, I found Stuart Lichtman's book, How to Get Lots of Money for Anything Fast. At first, I was turned off by the title, but I decided to take a closer look. When I read it, I saw it was teaching cybernetic transposition, which is a technique to manifest your desires through the power of your unconscious mind. Few years later, in 2016, I met Aryana Rollins at Stuart's recommendation. She has taught thousands of people how to fulfill their desires, working with their higher self and the power of unconscious mind too. I am one of her students, and I am very honored to introduce you, Aryana Rollins, who will answer a few questions about how to remove blockers on manifesting. So, Aryana, please tell us what cybernetic transposition is.
Well, first, welcome, Decibel, and anyone who is watching us. This is our first time doing this. So if we make mistakes, we're human. So I'm just glad you're here. And if you're watching the replay, know that you can ask questions too. We're happy to answer some questions. So thanks for playing with me, Decibel. Let's have some fun with this. So CT, or cybernetic transposition, is such an awkward term. And I'll give you just a little bit of background so it becomes a little less awkward. The term comes from, it's a Greek word. Cybernetic means steersman. So like we are steering our own boat. And we want to be like that, right? We want to be making the decisions for our life and going forward with what's important to us. And then transposition means that you can transfer a success from one area of your life, like say you have a loving marriage, but your career is held back because you have difficulty attracting really high quality bosses. Well, you can apply your success skills of being in a loving, connected, good communication marriage to finding a better boss and being able to transfer that success and fulfillment. So just a quick summary is CT helps us become masters of our body. So I like to think of the unconscious as our body. So to make it kind of bring it back to home, if you've ever had a craving, maybe you've got a habit of eating, like I did, was a pecan ice cream after dinner, then you'll notice that you find yourself like, I don't want to have the ice cream every night, but you do it anyway. So what's up with that? Even though you intend to not do it, all of your dieting wishes kind of go by the wayside and you just find yourself fulfilling that craving. Well, that's because there's a pattern. Anytime we do something habitually, right, it can become a habit, just like driving a car. We've habitually made driving a car successful. We really don't want to make eating ice cream after dinner a success habit because for obvious reasons. So what CT does is it gives us a way to accomplish our intentions by creating harmony in our mind and our body. And we find ourselves following through on what it is that would be more fulfilling for us, make us more successful, happier, and really improve the quality of our relationships. Because when we're present, we're more conscious, we can relate to others in profound and deep ways. So that's one of the side effects of creating that harmony. And really, if we think about the body is a record of our past, so it stores our memories, it stores our experiences, and we really no longer want it to be in charge of us and controlling our decisions and what we're doing with our life. We want our consciousness to be making those decisions, and our body follows like a loyal servant.
Usually programs focus on having harmony inside our mind and not our body. So having an harmony both in our hand, our mind, and our body seems to be a new thing. So tell me, how is your work different from other law of attraction so-called teachers?
Well, first I'll say the law of attraction is a valid law of nature, and it's something I've done a lot of research on. But most law of attraction trainers focus only on the first part of the process, like visioning. Imagine what you want in 3D detail and visualize it happening. Well, there are other aspects that aren't taken into consideration. So some people who have been students of law of attraction, they beat themselves up because they're not being successful at it. So they think there's something wrong with them that's getting in the way. Kind of yes and kind of no. It's not under your conscious control, whatever's happening that's not bringing that deep desire to you. So a couple things that are not considered when in the law of attraction teachings is how to actually be aligned with your higher self or true self, and
Mhm.
that you might have limits to expand, like Decibel was saying, that he did not realize that as good as he was at manifesting, he was comfortable within a certain range. And when he tried to expand that, then he was drawn back to what was comfortable for him. So clearing any resistance that comes up, like we might think the limiting thoughts, the habit to eat ice cream, or the beliefs that we don't deserve it, or who are we to get more than what other people have. Those are things you may not be conscious of, but I'm pretty certain they're running in you, because if you're not thinking it and it's not happening, there's resistance in the way. And sometimes there can be parts of us that are afraid of change, and they can prevent us from moving towards our goal and doing the things we know that we need to do to be successful at it. So my work has refinements that help clients have a higher rate of success with their goals and
Mm.
get what they want in a more direct path. And sometimes it's quite fast. Sometimes it takes a little time because they've got to clear those deep, what we would call cellular memories that we could have absorbed from our parents. As loving parents as they were, they may have had beliefs that say that don't reach beyond your station, or they may have been raised in an impoverished situation. So we become adjusted to that. We accommodate to that. So law of attraction is wonderful because it helps us become aware of what our creative forces, and that what we focus our attention on grows. So like we can attract people who are helpers, and we can attract people who maybe confirm our limiting beliefs. Both are possible. And so attracting the more joyful, successful experiences and being with people who will confirm our higher potential and that inner fulfillment is really important to be successful with it. And it's those crucial moments when we're having that important conversation with our spouse or our boss, that it's where those unconscious habits can like peek in because we're nervous. When we're nervous or we're in stress, those unconscious habits kind of take charge to make us more comfortable. But it
Mhm.
could be really self-defeating, Decibel. We know this, right? We've witnessed that ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So you've been working with Cybernetic Transposition and me for a while, and I think it'd be helpful for them to understand from kind of a student's perspective. There are a lot of programs out there, even more than 15 years ago when I was learning this. What made you think at that time that this program or this book would bring you the results it promised?
Well, Aryana, thank you for asking. Maybe I'm some kind of a special case. I don't know. Because when I was a teenager and uneducated in this kind of stuff, I somehow invented a program similar to this one, but in a more crude way. And it usually got me what I wanted, and sometimes I overachieved, but it took me very much time and energy to manifest what I wanted. When I discovered the Stuart's book first time, and then I started working with you, I found a lot of refinements, like you said, that I couldn't have thought only by myself. And this refinements include something like I could have aimed higher because I used to have only small goals. um, my objective could have been only a minimum requirement because I can have I can expect to receive more than I asked, more and better of what I asked for.
Mm.
Uh, and from the dark side, let's say I have some parts of me that prevent me from achieving what I want. Maybe I have some limits that I need to expand in order to get where I want, and so on. And yes, these refinements plus the fact that I saw every process was a step-by-step list, one little baby step after another, made me believe that this system is real valid and valuable stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Decibel, especially when you shared about that you were limiting yourself because we don't realize that. There's something called unconscious performance limits that
Yes, I
your
love that very much.
right, your unconscious is set to earn a certain amount of money and it's
Hmm.
comfortable, it knows how to do that, or it's set to receive a certain amount of love and encouragement into our life. So actually going and looking at that one some people call kind of a financial thermostat, you can know
Hmm.
exactly the amount of money that your unconscious says, oh yeah, we can make that much. But as soon as you try to reach beyond that, it's like the crabs in the bucket, the
Hmm.
unconscious will pull us back down to what's comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what about a personal experience? Do you have like a success story that touches you deeply you'd like to share?
Yes, just a second. Yes, I have a recent experience with you, with an affirmation you made during one of your classes, and that affirmation was something like when we remove certain resistance from ourselves, then changes happen in people around us. And since I'm a kind of a skeptical guy, I thought this is a good affirmation to put to the test. So I let myself guided by you along a process of removing such a resistance that I had about washing dishes. It may be something trivial for most of the people, but for me it was close to a torture. So, to my surprise, 10 days after we have done this process, I noticed that the kitchen sink was um, most of the times empty because the members of my family started being more preoccupied to this issue. And please note that I haven't told them anything about what I have done, we have done before. And yes, right now the kitchen sink is not only empty but is also clean. So yes, it's
I,
a
I
huge
really
success.
love that one because it's something we can relate with, and we don't realize how much the frustration of having to do the dishes all the time can actually impact our connection and love with people because of the resentment can turn into bitterness. So a small thing like that can transform. So beautiful. Thank you. So what's been your most, I guess, your biggest success, your most fulfilling one so far?
Well, I can tell what is my biggest success because, for example, I found a job that provided me an excellent balance between money income and time with uh, my personal time.
Mm.
And one of the latest is about something harder and maybe not so obvious. Because the obvious thing is that the cybernetic transposition works very well with goals like getting a job or passing an exam or winning a competition, or something that is very measurable, like earning a certain amount of money, or maybe shedding a certain number of pounds in weight. But there are objectives that someone might have that are not so easily measurable, like, for example, the quality of a relationship. And this is what I wanted at the beginning of this year, to improve the relationship with my wife. Now, please don't misunderstand me. I have a very good relationship with my wife. We love each other and respect each other very much. But according to my evaluation at the beginning of this year, it was at about 7, and I wanted to improve it to at least 9. So I started working on this objective, and 4 months later, I thought I got what I wanted, but I needed an independent evaluation. So I asked my wife to give me the ratings from her perspective, and yes, to my satisfaction, I found that her ratings were exactly the same as mine. It was 7 at the beginning of the year and 10 4 months later. And yes, as usually, I haven't told anybody about my objective along the process.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So, so tell me, Aryana, can you share us a wow story from your clients?
Yeah, yeah. Just one other thing, because you've been a student of this for a while, Decibel, and maybe if you wouldn't mind, tell us what was hard for you in the beginning.
Oh, yeah, this is a good question. Um, as for many things that are new and unfamiliar, cybernetic transposition is very new and very unfamiliar because it's something that you don't find anywhere else. And I don't say that easily.
Mm.
And when I saw the instruction set and I read it, I said to myself, "Oh no, this is too complicated. Oh no, I will never be able to do this. Oh no, this is ridiculous." But when you actually roll off the couch and go to do the practice at the gym, for example, the same was for me. I set myself to the table and I took one baby step after another and started doing the work. And I found that it actually wasn't that difficult. And I got results that were so rewarding.
So you got feedback that, oh, this is working. And I really liked that you treated it almost like, a mental gym. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do this work and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
test it out. And yeah, for me too, because when I first read the book and I first started practicing, there are a lot of moving parts, a lot of steps. So when we just like kind of surrender the ego and say, you know what, I'm just going to try this. I'm going to just play with it and then see what happens. It's worth a try because once we learn it, like how to drive a car, it can take us anywhere. Actually, that's not a bad analogy. Once we learn how to drive a car, we can then go where we want. Once we learn
Absolutely.
right
Mm-hmm.
cybernetic
Mm-hmm.
transposition, we can go where we want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but you were asking about a client wow story. Yeah.
Yes, please
Yeah.
tell us
There,
a story from your clients.
there are so many. This is one that really touched me deeply because I think it affected every area of her life. So a married woman with 2 children came to me. She wanted to grow her business. In the initial conversation, she revealed she was planning on leaving her husband and she needed to provide for her children because she was going to be a single mother. Her first success was bringing on board 2 business builders for her network marketing business. She was even signing up customers easily where she hadn't had any sales prior to that. But her really big success is when she became aware, after she had taken the highest potential program, she started to work with me privately. And that's when the deeper things come out, when we're now ready, like, okay, this is working, we've accomplished this, and we're looking at and making bigger improvements in our life. The private support after one's learned the basics is a really great way to go. So she realized in setting in dialoguing with her higher self, her higher true self, is that she had problems with trust. So she set an objective to improve her trust issues, to resolve that. And lo and behold, near the end of her objective set point, which was a 90-day objective, she looked across the table at her husband and she thought to herself, he's a good man. He's a really good man. And she fell back in love with him. So this woman almost ran away from a really good relationship and would have struggled to raise her 2 children as a single mother. And while setting an objective, she found the love of her life, and it was right in front of her. So there's so many stories, but I think that one, because it demonstrates she was able to be successful in the physical and the material worlds with money. And then also she really healed a very important relationship. And even without realizing it, because she was working on herself, which is where we have control, right? When we work on ourselves.
Hmm. It seems like a work of a facilitator. What is actually a cybernetic transposition facilitator?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I really like the term facilitator. I'll just step back just a little bit and tell you what the training was like. Licensing took over 800 hours of intense training and 2 years of work. It's equivalent to a course of study for a PhD program. And it took me another 5 years to become really good at understanding the processes so that I could transfer that skill and working knowledge to people while I'm teaching them. So a facilitator is someone who can kind of, the way I describe it to myself is I'm actually getting in the car with the person. So they're driving, whatever it is their intentions are, and I'm like co-pilot. So I can start to see when blocking resistance is turning up. I could hear it in their voice, and then I can guide them back to their most powerful self, that alignment with their true self, and accessing their higher true self, that state of awareness. So with facilitating, it's guiding their evolution, guiding their development through basically 3 steps. So first is to create a deeply desirable wish list, something that they would like to experience. And there could be bunches of things on there. And then through reviewing it by connecting with their higher true self, putting their finger on each one, we come up with the one that is going to have the biggest impact in their life. And that's the one they set an objective around. Then we gain the support of their unconscious mind, which is really the doing part. There's been scientific research that says our deciding part, our consciousness, is about 5% responsible for what we accomplish in our life. The unconscious is 95% responsible. Think if we had to like walk over to the door and open it with just our mind. We're in a body. We've got to get the body willing to help us. And then also with our higher true self, if it's in support of what we want, well, it's kind of the lights turn on and there's an upliftment and a certainty that starts to happen, that we're certain we're on the right path. We know this is right for us, and we get the support. I think the most important, I think that the difference between kind of a cybernetic transposition facilitator and maybe if we look at law of attraction is that the make or break step for people to be able to be successful with the law of attraction is to resolve these unconscious self-defeating patterns, the things that are just automatically reactive. And they come up most when we're just about to be successful. So looking at how we are, like how far we get with something, and then that we take a sideways path or we take a U-turn and we say we don't want it anyway, we don't realize how defeating that is. And these patterns sabotage us at every turn. So when we become conscious of these patterns, they have less power over us. And we can then also actually heal them because they have really been trying to help us. It's just maybe in an immature 3-year-old way, trying to get us the attention we want. And so once we heal them and we get these parts of us working in harmony and in alignment, then they are helping to facilitate our growth. I think that most of us want to make changes in our life. I don't think most of us are really happy and settled where we are. But, and like maybe some people, like you said, want to shed a few pounds, or they want to build a business that to help the planet. They want to become, grow a socially conscious business, or have a more intimate, loving connection with their spouse like you did. And I think the question that I'd invite everybody to ask themselves is, why don't you have it now? I know your desire is there, and I know your wishes are there, and you might even have a vision. So I know it's not through lack of desire. You really want it. So something must be in the way. And it's that inner contradiction that gets in the way, the blocking energies. So with the higher true self work, someone can pull those contradictions out and look at them, bring them to the surface and resolve the blockages so that we can really step into what Rumi, this very old mystic, said, is that what we are seeking is also seeking us.
Wow. It seems that you can do anything with cybernetic transposition. Is that true?
Yes.
What
Yeah.
can it do and what can't it do?
Well, it seems like that. And I know when a lot of people start reading the book or they enroll in the highest potential program, they get so lit up with hope and inspiration. They think that, the world is my oyster. I can accomplish anything. Yes and no. Okay. So if we look at a lot of people are drawn to making more money because that can ease our life and bring a lot of fun to our life. Now, if someone is trying to, say, become a millionaire, and they have generally earned, I don't know, $50,000 on average a year for their life, to go to a millionaire, it's not that it's not possible, but some people want it fast. And that, it means they're going to have to clear a lot of resistance, because otherwise they would have it right now. So people can set objectives that are a 10 in difficulty, like becoming a millionaire, but it's likely going to be a matter of, I like to think of it as there's this is where we are and this is our objective. There's this gap, and the gap is filled with blocking energies, blocking thoughts, blocking beliefs. No problem, you can clear it, but maybe a lot of people don't have the time to do that. So it's recommended to do step by step. So maybe to become a millionaire is you want to come up with this brilliant idea and patent it. That's a great path, yeah? And then you take the steps to develop the brilliant idea, get the patent, find a buyer. So each objective in turn can build to your overall objective. Now, say somebody wants to win the lottery. Could they use cybernetic transposition? Sure, they can. And again, if they have won the lottery in the past, it's going to be easier for them. And they can just transfer that success to their next objective. So it can do whatever you're willing to put the work in to do. Let's say that, because it is some work to be able to transform the self-defeating habits into something that's supporting you and that will make you more successful.
Oh, thank you very much, Aryana, for this interesting answer. And now I know that you are opening enrollment for highest potential program, which is the one that you teach only once a year. Why do students take this program?
Well, they've been trying to change their life. Maybe they've wanted to, they've been working diligently. So a lot of people drawn to this work is they've been on a path of personal growth and development. And they could have studied Abraham Hicks, the law of attraction, the Sedona method, Dr. Joe Dispenza, his meditations, Course in Miracles, Byron Katie, Tolle, and it's brought them to a level of awareness and a level of accomplishment and maybe mastery over their life. And their life's improved, but there are still parts of them that go offline, so to speak. And I'll explain that. So, if you've ever experienced, it's funny because it's an actual story. I'm part of a Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation group because that's one of the things I recommend to students is that when we still our mind and we go within and we develop that peacefulness, we can start to hear when blockers are starting to influence us, and we are able to move forward with that self-love and self-acceptance by doing just a short practice of meditation. So here's a funny story. So I go to the meditation group and we're sitting down and we're just chit-chatting before we start to meditate. And this woman said, I just can't believe that. I've been doing, Dr. Joe meditations for years. And as I'm turning into to the church where we do the meditation, she said, someone's like cutting me off. And I felt this rage rise in me. And she's like, I'm so ashamed. Like, what was that? And that, to me, my heart opened up because she was beating herself up for something that was just a reactive pattern, just a trigger. It's not her. So we all have those kind of lower expressions of ourselves, yelling at our child because they haven't cleaned their room, or going off at our spouse because they've let us down and they've disappointed us. Those are just ways of being that are hurting us. And so if you've ever experienced that, my heart goes open because I have too. And we get this, like we start to beat ourselves up. Well, guess what that is? It's another part of it's like an aspect of our ego that now has something to really beat ourselves up with. Like, look what you just did. And you're not at a powerful place. You're not at a point of change and transformation. So what's going on here? Basically, habitual ways of relating to the world. And we're filled with them, took you over, and they live in the unconscious mind. And again, they're trying to help you get to a point of balance and reduce the stress. As odd as they may sound, they're not working really against you. So with the highest potential program, students come for multiple reasons. They want to become masterful of their life in a way that's more spiritually aligned, not maybe in a politician's way to control the world, but that they want to have access to their highest potential. They want to maybe establish a legacy. They want to, feel good about who they are. And it doesn't mean they have to be it has to be a big result. It's just they want to also maybe have access to these deep, profound works. I've studied every single one of them at length, other than the Sedona method. And they want to become more masterful at that, like control the ego, Course of Miracles, heal. I don't like control, actually. I take that term back, is heal it, resolve those egoic parts. And same with Tolle. Tolle's got a wonderful new course coming out, and it's about conscious manifestation. And it's like, that's exactly what we're doing here. It's conscious manifestation and having the ego take a back seat, because in many ways, we need an ego in the world. We need a personality self to be able to handle all the things that we're faced with. If we were living in an ashram in India, or we were in the top of a Tibetan mountain and we're in a monastery, maybe we don't need an ego. But they're not going to the grocery store. They're not navigating the traffic. They're not talking to their boss. So finding a way to get the ego working on our behalf. I know that may sound weird, but I think that's possible. So that was kind of a long story of why some people come. Yeah, some people come to become better people,
Yeah, absolutely. People want to be better. And thank you for sharing that your experience with Joe Dispenza's meditation program. It's a wonderful sharing. But can you tell us more about how people experience the work you're doing?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I'll invite people to is that there's a free gift. Sorry, a little bit of talking's too much. Let me get some water. And the free gift is a little guide how to manifest without force or frustration. Because I believe in play. I think at heart I'm quite not childish, childlike in my innocence and trusting and just playful
Mhm.
nature. And I believe in play because that means we're doing things in the easiest way possible. When we're forcing ourselves, when we've hit frustration and then we just like power through, we're actually hurting ourselves. That's how blockers get created, is that when we push and force. Or, it's kind of like if we're doing that and like do it anyway, the Nike thing, that we are swimming upstream. And anytime we're doing that swimming upstream, we're doing things the hard way. And it makes it so difficult to manifest what you want. So one of my gifts is to introduce you to the little guide, and we'll put a link in the Facebook chat so you can get access to it. And it starts with creating a list of all you'd like to experience, all you'd like to change in your life. You put it to one side in a place where no one will read it, and you start to watch the unfoldment of your wishes. Yes, it can be that easy. There have been many wishes, but there's one that I don't want to share right now, but it's powerful. Maybe one day I will share. I'll get her permission to share. It was really transformational, that it was impossible that it happened. And she did nothing but just write the wish down and put it in her drawer. So as you begin to witness things getting done, and your wish is unfolding, it inspires you to want to do more, maybe make a bigger wish because you're in this playful state of no forcing. There's two audios that come with the free gift. You connect with your higher self, and there's instruction on how to do the wish list process. And probably the most important thing in this gift is in the guide that you get is you learn how to recognize blockers so that they don't take you off track. Like I mentioned, if you're aware and you develop this witness consciousness, like this anger starts to rise, you can watch it and observe. It doesn't mean it's completely transformed that habit, but it has less influence over you. And then as you start to be on track, feeling more buoyant, more joyful, more grateful, you get certain, you feel have this feeling of certainty that your wishes will unfold.
Yes, thank you, Ariana. It's my experience too that at first you let that unconscious behavior to take over the control, and maybe if you're lucky, you notice that after the situation has passed. Uh, while you work on it, you start to realize that the unconscious behavior takes control while it is in action. And after a very, very hard work, you notice a fraction of a second before it will take control, and then you have the decision to let it take the control or not to let it take the control.
I like that, Decibel, because it really is choice. Choice, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. This kind of work actually gives you the possibility to have a choice and not to let not to be guided. So as we wrap up, tell us why did you start the True Self life change training?
Well, it's kind of a personal story that I've not shared before. Ever since I was a child, I was aware people, like adults, weren't comfortable in their skin. It was like they were wearing this big, hairy coat that they felt forced to wear in the outside world. And most children are sensitive, but what happened for me is my sensitivity continued, this knowing that I could see like someone was being themselves. That's, about, why are they fake laughing? Why are they like saying something and I know that's not true. That, they're just going along with something that doesn't feel good for them. It was very difficult because I could feel and see and sense so much. So this awareness continued for me. And I could see when someone was connected with their inner power, their essence, that core truth of who they really are. It took me years to figure out it was a rare gift. Not everybody could see like that or see that deeply. So after studying many years of personal and spiritual development work, I found a book that helped me understand what was going on. Gurdjieff wrote about essence and personality. And that's when the bells went off. I could actually see
Mhm.
a person's essence, their core. I could see their inner potential crying out. And I could see what it really wanted for them to experience in this life. But that there was this blocking personality. It didn't have a say in what was going on in their life. It didn't have a role on the stage, so to speak. And the interesting thing that the more someone was departed from this true, pure essence of who they are, the more the blocking personality was running their job, their career. It was running their relationships. It was making decisions for their life that made them unhappy. And they weren't successful and they were frustrated. So the higher true self work is about creating alignment with the essence of who you are, the essence you were born with, and that personality self, that part that we need to be in the world. Because if we were as open and pure as a child, we might not be able to function as effectively as we need to here. So the point is to develop that personality self is so close to who we are at core, so that we don't have to put on that big hairy coat. We don't have to be battling the world. We can be our precious self. And that also leads us to accepting ourselves and loving ourselves, because we're doing the best job we can. And there's not that beating ourselves up or feeling guilty. So with the higher true self work, it's about creating alignment with the essence of who you are. And from that place, life unfolds in magical and mystical ways, and you start to accomplish objectives that maybe you've given up on, that you thought were not possible, and you've settled to the status quo. And acceptance is a beautiful thing, but sometimes we have to fight. And that fight is fighting for your life, fighting for your expression, and fighting to be who you are inside. And not just that, because there are a lot of wonderful coaches out there that do that, a lot of people, but it's finding that higher path for you that is connected with your spiritual self. And that work is, I think, uniquely the higher true self work. So thank you, Decibel. These are really good questions. As we wrap up, if someone was new to this work, what would you recommend?
Well, many people, including myself, want to be better in certain aspects of their life, and making change takes time and effort. But the thing is that the simple power of will won't do lasting changes. Uh, Unless this effort is in alignment with your higher true self, those changes won't last. What one can discover in your program is how to, not only how to, but one would get the guidance to get in alignment with his higher true self. But you don't have to believe myself. You just have to test it for yourself.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, don't believe actually anything I say either. It's just try it, do it for yourself. So, as we conclude the conversation, I'd like to invite you, if you go to highertrueself.com, HIGHER, highertrueself.com, and there's a tab where you can have access to a free training that we're doing on Saturday. It's remove the blocks to manifesting, claim your freedom. And we'll go into an exercise to create a vision, and I will help you identify your biggest block to manifesting and give you some steps along the way to help release the influence it has over you so you can bring more a higher state of awareness to what it is you'd like to change. And then we'll talk about what we're going to be doing in the highest potential program, which is starting in October. So thank you so much for those of you who watched and participated, and hopefully this Facebook Live went to the Facebook page. I don't even know if it did. So we're just playing, and this is new technology for us. And I really enjoyed our conversation, Decibel, and thank you for your dedication to your development, your evolution, your growth. I've witnessed transformation in you just these short years that I've known you, and I know you're dedicated to being your highest self, your higher true self. You really are dedicated with that, and to being of the most service that you can to others. And that's beautiful.
Thank you very much, Aryana, for your time. We'll see you on Saturday.
Great. Okay, bye for now, everybody. Bye.
Bye bye.